Welcome back to another episode of the Get Sculpted podcast. I've got Coach Tiana, Coach Marilyn, and myself, Coach Jordana here. We are ready to dive into episode 2 of our 3-part mini series where we are taking you through our super sculpted lifestyle system. This is going to be for you if you have always wondered, what is on the other side of dieting? How do I get there? How do I stay there? And what do I do after I've lost the weight? Because you might have dropped the weight before. You might have felt really good in your body and you finally feel in control again. But now you're like, holy crap, how do I stay here? Because I've never been able to stay here before. And in our world, this is where true transformation is really the starting point. Am I right, girls?
Yes. This is where the transformation begins. And if you haven't listened to the previous episode, make sure you listen to that as well.
Go back and listen to it. So we are going to be talking to you today about the empowerment phase over here in our Get Sculpted world. Phase 1, just as a quick recap, was all about building your foundation. It was about the workouts, the nutrition, the consistency, the habits, and your structure. But now when we move into the empowerment phase with our clients, this is the stage where you learn to keep what you've built without living on 14 or 1500 calories, obsessing over every gram, and being able to really step into this place where women rarely spend time in that they inevitably end up gaining weight from. And they feel lost because they never learned how to maintain and what steps to follow to continue in their fitness journey. So in order for us to continue forward, this is where women go from following a plan to owning their results. They go from, I can't really trust myself, I don't really know what to do next, to knowing exactly what their body needs and how to keep it going for decades to come. And we're going to talk about the science, the mindset, and the messy middle of learning how to maintain. So girls, let's start with why the maintenance phase is actually the magic zone and why most people never make it there. Are you ready for this convo?
Let's do it. I'm really excited.
This is my favorite.
Me too. Okay, so before we dive in a little bit, I want to ask you guys if you could think of like one word that when you talk about moving into maintenance with your clients, what's like the one word that kind of comes up for them most often?
I think for me, well, part of it, I'm going to say 2 if that's okay. Disbelief and uncertainty. Because again,
that's a good one.
They've never been here, so they actually don't understand or believe how they're going to be able to stay lean and start to, let's say, eat more. And uncertainty because they're very nervous, right? This is where trusting the process and trusting your coach really, I have that conversation a lot because it is uncharted territory for them. They really have no idea. So those would be my words.
I love that, T.
I was going to echo your guys' words, and I know your word, George, you're going to share it, but also doubt. There's some doubt.
Love that.
Yep. And
Doubt's the next one.
Yeah, George, share yours because I definitely echo that one.
Mine is fear. I hear this a lot. And fear because of everything that you girls said. They're just like, I finally got to a place where I'm happy with my body and now you want me to eat more food? I don't get it. That seems backwards, right? Yeah. And so like dieting is literally how to lose body fat. But in the empowerment phase, we want to teach you what happens when you get to stay there. And that's the piece that most women don't realize is that in order to stay there, you actually get to eat more food. And we love that.
You have to. You have to eat more food.
Yeah. I think, go ahead.
I was going to say before we even start the foundation, if we say that too early, I don't know about you, but some people will be like, I don't think I ever want to eat more food. I'm not really.
Yes.
Like they're afraid of food. And I'm like, you will when you're training properly and actually get hungry enough.
They have no perspective, right? There's no schema for it. So you're totally right.
It's so true. And that fear has been ingrained in them from like all the decades of in the industry or in marketing or food companies, because when you actually know how to maintain your physique, that's when you get removed from all of the fear mongering in the diet and fitness industry. And you're just like, I'm good. I know what to do now. I can like work on bigger and better goals. And so we're going to dig into this a little bit more. We want to talk about some of the misconceptions because maintenance isn't boring. It's actually where you unlock food freedom, trust in your body, metabolic flexibility, things that you've never experienced before. And so I challenge you to think that maintenance is, not boring. It's actually really exciting and a place where you get to do a lot of exploration with yourself. And it teaches you how to live at your new weight instead of fighting to stay there, which I think we hear so much of, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of women what kind of strategy is that? that's what I always tell people is like, you've lost the weight before, but let's say you were to go back to just doing a 180. How has that worked for you to go up and down like that? So when you want different results, you have to do something different.
That's
exactly. And so let's get tactical here, because I know we all have our own like favorite way of doing this, but let's talk a little bit about reverse dieting and metabolic testing, because this is the actual tactics of how and when we start to increase somebody's calories to start to get them up into figuring out where their maintenance actually is. And so one of my favorite tactics that I do with my clients is I like to make small incremental calorie increases, usually around 100 calories or so around the carbs and fats, and sit there for like a couple of weeks and see if their weight maintains, get biofeedback, see how they feel. And sometimes this will happen earlier in the journey. If they're like losing weight too quickly, we'll increase calories.
Right.
If they are extremely hungry or energy is taking a crash, we might increase calories slightly and see what happens. But it is kind of fun to start to increase those calories and see how people feel, because testing that metabolic resiliency is actually seeing how much your body can handle and stay lean.
Yeah.
And that's when we start to find your maintenance calories. Do you guys want to add anything or other ways or tactics that you like to go about this?
I do very much the same. But one of the things I will just add, because I don't want to repeat exactly what you said, because that's what I do. I think it's really important just to kind of hone in on the biofeedback. So that's also very important, right? This isn't just like a winging it kind of situation.
No. Or force feeding.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're doing it in those small increments so we can really very intentionally assess, like, how is your strength? How is your energy?
Exactly.
And a multitude of other factors. But what I actually just love, I just kind of want to put this here, is that I love that, because what that usually translates into is, our clients are staying lean, but they're feeling that spike in energy and strength.
Amazing.
And they'll say like, okay, like I can lift heavier. Because the food is actually, you're utilizing that food in exactly the way we want you to be utilizing it. So they feel better. It's more energizing.
I was gonna echo exactly that. This is such an important thing for people to know, is that it has to be accompanied by a strong training stimulus.
That's right.
You can't just increase your food. Like, when newsflash, calories equal like weight.
Yeah.
So like when you're eating more, like you can't just eat more to eat more. You have to fuel that toward like more heavy lifts, which fuel more muscle.
How you lift. Yeah.
Like, people need to realize that like the reason that we lift weights is to add more muscle, which shapes your body, which increases your metabolism.
That's right.
And the only way you can show up with enough oomph to those sessions is with more food.
Exactly.
So like the most backwards thing that people do, not under our guidance, of course, but is they're done a dieting phase. And I remember I did this after my first show. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take a break from tracking and training. I'm like, okay, so I ate a ton more calories and I stopped training. Like, that is the worst combination. You want to maximize. Your body is extremely insulin sensitive, like when you do get lean. So that's why we increase the calories, because more of that intake is going to be shuttled toward muscle gains, provided you're training properly. It's a time to really double down on that.
Love that what you said. And I want to like bring this analogy forward, because I think it might be helpful. It's like when you move to a new city and you have to learn your ways around, like, how do I get to the grocery store? How do I get to the school? How do I get to work? All of these like lovely things. How do I get back home? And you use GPS a lot to get to simple, basic places. That is like our foundation phase.
Yes.
You're living life with GPS. And when you come into your empowerment phase, this is where you actually start to understand the roads and the ways of getting there without the GPS. And you're learning how to live life without following the directions.
I love that.
With the GPS, like you're taking some of those training wheels off and you're really implementing a whole new way of doing things where you're more present and more aware and getting more of that biofeedback. So I absolutely love that. Where have you guys seen this like really show up for clients in different parts of their life, not just in the gym training, but in other areas around food freedom and flexibility?
Well, I think for me, a lot of it, I have a lot of clients who have like, young families. So, when they go on vacations or they have family events, or we have a lot of clients who travel with sports for their children. So it's that feeling of being able to navigate those things that were once a place of fear and it was like a terrifying thing for them. They have that empowered feeling of how to navigate the food, and knowing that, again, because it's serving their lifestyle, this isn't just like, extra calories that you're just throwing at the wall. This is I can actually utilize these in a way that serves me. What about you, T?
I love that.
Well, they set new standards, and that's what it is.
Yes.
Because when you have elevated your standards, then they're not going anywhere regardless of your situation. Like I remember I had a client who she was very swamped with work, and she's like, her training took a backseat for a while, but she's like, listen, I'm proud to say the nutrition never deviates. And she reflected and said, the meals I used to eat, they weren't meals, first of all, because there was no protein. She's like, there was no color to them at all. So she's like, now, no matter how busy I am, like, it's the skills and the tools to navigate situations. Like it's the principles and not just the marching.
I love
That's really our goal, where we go from, we do need to give people a fish in the beginning, because, give a fish, teach them how to fish kind of thing. Like we need to give you it because people are usually like, please tell me what to do. Like,
yes.
And that's okay. Like we give you the meal plan and all that. But that's not a forever solution. It's a stepping stone. So like the goal is autonomy. It's always autonomy. And that's where this comes in. And that could look like you're out to dinner with the girls or out for your anniversary. And it's not like, oh, shoot, wait, this isn't on my fitness pal. It's like, okay, well, I know my hunger and fullness. I'm utilizing this as my free meal. Okay, well, I know how to set up the rest of my week and rest of my day. I know how I'm going to set up my training, and they have those skills. And that's where the autonomy comes in this phase.
Beautiful, beautifully said. I love that. On that note, Mare, I would love for you to take us into how the mental hurdles play a role in this phase.
Yeah, I think it's important because I think we do have to acknowledge that this phase does feel hard for people because, as we already said, it is uncharted territory. They've never been here. And the idea of increasing calories and eating more food, that's not necessarily the hardest part. It's the mental work that goes into it. My clients usually at this point call it a mind F, if you will, because it really is like they feel that internal struggle of like, okay, my coach is telling me this. I really do believe it. I've felt this. I know this is where I need to go, but this scares the crap out of me. Because when you think about it, like we talked about, we've all been conditioned to think. And for a lot of us, we've been in that behavior cycle where we think eating more equals I'm going to gain weight. Yeah. And if I want to lose, I have to eat less. So we've got to do a lot of mental work here around identity, around the fear of regaining and learning to trust yourself in the process, because being in maintenance does not mean letting go of progress. It's you leveling up to a place that you've never been. And it's actually the place that's going to allow you to keep your results. But as I said, there are mental hurdles that I think we have to acknowledge because it would be unfair not to. So the first one, of course, is the fear of eating more calories. This is immediately where my clients will say to me, but am I going to gain the weight back? Right? Like it's some form of that, because if we increase calories, that's what's happened to them in the past. But in this phase, it's not eat more calories with no plan. So as you said, Jord, and I'm sure we all do some version of this, we increase calories strategically. We track the body's response, and that biofeedback guides the next step. So even as coaches, we might have an idea of what happens 2 weeks, 1 month, etc. But your body is the guide. So we really look closely at that. We don't wing it. We don't allow our clients to just wing it. We help them build capacity slowly and intentionally. So yes, their body catches up, but also their mind. I think that's very important.
I think that this is where I really want to highlight, for our clients, because I know a lot of you guys listen to this, the ones who are most successful are bought in that this is a journey. So sometimes like I've had people say where they're like, okay, now that we did the fat loss phase together, just give me like the Coles notes of the next phase and I'll do it on my own. And I'm like, but that's not, the point isn't that it's not the like process on paper, it's how your body responds to the process. That's the whole point. So and whether it's with us or not, but if you're working with a coach, people often think they only need a coach for fat loss, but like that bridge between successful maintenance is exactly where most women have never been. So this is when you really want to lean on coaching even more.
Yeah. And it's actually very exciting because you get to like not feel like you're dieting forever. Right. And if you think about it, if the things you've done in the past kept you in that cycle of restriction, well, it wasn't sustainable. Like what you were doing was like your foundation was never sustainable. Exactly. So the second mental hurdle, I think, is, like I said, that identity shift that has to happen, because for a lot of women, being on a diet actually is their identity, right? They don't know who they are if they're not on a diet. And there is, I think, some element too of control, because when women diet, they feel like they're working towards something, right? Like I can control the calories, I can control this. But in this phase, you're really shifting from a woman who's always on a diet to a woman who maintains her results and sets new next level goals. And this is like, as a coach, it's so exciting because this is where performance goals come into play, other body composition changes, and that food freedom without fear. Like it is music to my ears when a client will say to me, like, I went out for dinner with the girls, or I went on a girls' week, and I felt so good about navigating that. And I didn't spiral, and I came back and I just got right back into, I'm like, that's like, I don't know about you girls, but that is the best.
And also, like, who are you when you have all this mental space freed up in your brain when you're no longer thinking about, I have to lose 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds?
Right.
Who are you? You don't even know. You don't even know, because all of this mental space has been taken up by like what you think you have to do to lose the weight or live a certain lifestyle. And now you're there. What can you do? What is possible for you when you have all this other brain power that's being reallocated to somewhere else? It's beautiful.
It's so true. I had a client say to me once, you know, like, I lost X number of pounds, but the weight that I feel that has come off from all of that mental stress is like, it feels so much better than the physical weight ever could. And I think that's really important.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And then the third hurdle is staying consistent without external pressure. So when you think about it, fat loss comes with a lot of built-in pressure because there's urgency, right? There's a goal. And when that pressure is gone, again, a lot of women they don't have that identity. They kind of drift. So the skill in this phase is learning to stay consistent because you value the life that you've built. We call it living a fit life, right? Not because you're scared of losing it. So you move from like an external pressure to more internal standards. And I do love using that word because standards, really, it's what it becomes. Like, you refuse to settle for anything less. So I think one more thing though we have to bring up is the scale. Dun, 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 because it's another place where a lot of women feel successful only if the scale is dropping.
Yeah.
And if they see it stall or go up a little bit, they kind of freak out, and their gut instinct is like, okay, we have to cut calories again. We have to like go lower. But in maintenance, like, the scale is actually not supposed to drop every week. So instead of looking at the scale as the only measure of success, you've got to like widen that lens and look at what progress actually is, what it means to you. So this is why we love non-scale victories, because you can look at, you know, how are your clothes fitting? Are you walking into your closet and being like, I can wear anything I want? Are you going to the store and being able to shop however freely you like? Is your strength going up? How's your mood, your relationships? Also, visible muscle. Like, this is that exciting place where you get to see that muscle that you've worked hard for. So, you know, I think for a lot of women in this stage, they have to understand that body composition, that can still change a great deal, and the scale might not move as much as you think it will.
Oh, yeah, breaking up.
Or the scale might actually increase, but you might keep looking better and better and stronger and stronger. And breaking up with the scale in this time frame, it can really mess with a lot of women thinking that they're moving backwards, but in fact they're leapfrogging bounds ahead because you're actually adding, let's say, a pound of muscle in a year. And you're gonna look leaner, but the scale might have gone up a couple of pounds because of that. And, you're eating more food too. Like, you're eating, let's say, 800 calories more
100%.
More food than you never thought possible, but you gained 1 pound. I'm like, that's a pretty good ratio. Like, we want that, actually.
That's right.
But the weight, that's what women need to get used to. And a lot of this phase, to be honest, is wrapping their head around like muscle gain. Because a lot of people don't like the word gain, but it's like, if you look at any of these people that might be your Fitspo and I want to look toned, you need so much more muscle than you could even imagine for that. That's just never, ever, ever going to happen without intention.
Exactly.
And it's not going to happen with 1,600 calories. It's not going to happen with little booty bands or light weights. It's going to happen from getting uncomfortable and lifting heavy. And the only way you're going to do that is by eating like a proper grown adult who is building muscle and an active person, not like a toddler.
Right. And that's what I always tell my girls when they're like, I want to be defined. I want to be toned. And I'm like, well, that is like, AKA muscle. And guess what? Muscle has mass. So like, you can't have that body and think that that's not going to translate other places. So girls, I would actually love if we could maybe do some shout outs just to kind of give some real examples of clients that we've worked with who, you know, kind of have gone from that foundations phase into the empowerment phase, and maybe what that shift has looked like for them. Does anyone have anybody in mind?
Yeah, I would love to shout out one of my clients. We started together about 2 years ago. And she came for some fat loss initially and had been in the bodybuilding world, mom of 2, had felt like fluffy and had about like 10 or 15 pounds she wanted to lose. We started around 1,600 calories for her fat loss. And we stayed there for several months in order for her to achieve that goal. She lost about 10 pounds or so. And was feeling really good. And I said, okay, now it's time for us to increase your calories. And she was like, whoa, okay. And honestly, we've been through the increasing calories lean out once or twice now. We're in our second, I would say, like calorie increasing phase with together.
Amazing.
And this time around, we got her up to over 2,500 calories. We just did another calorie increase.
That's
and she's eating
crazy.
It's wild. She's eating over 300 grams of carbs a day. And so when I hear women, and she's like define beautiful muscles, like lean, she's like, when you look at her, you're like, wow, that's somebody that I would like to aspire to look at. And here's like the crazy part. She now weighs the exact same as day one when she came in. So she's up like that 10 pounds, but she is leaner, tighter, defined more muscles, eating almost over 1,000 calories more than she was before.
That's incredible.
And has so much more flexibility with her life, can go out on date night, can go on vacation with the kids, can do pizza night, and really not think twice about what's going to happen to my body when I do eat this, because there's that one, added muscle to maintain that's fueling her metabolism. And two, she knows that her body's going to use this as fuel when she heads into the gym and lifts heavy AF.
She is lifting heavy. That's the really important
heavy.
piece.
Yeah. So shout out to her, because that is like, I want every single woman to experience that. Like,
it's the best.
It's incredible.
Yeah. What about you, T?
There's one client that comes to mind. So she was very, very petite, and her goal was actually not primarily aesthetic. She was entering her 50s when we started, and she wanted to be like really, really strong and build as much muscle as possible into her 70s and 80s. So, but we did start with that initial fat loss phase, which again was not very long for her. She was petite. She's 5'3" and started at like 130 or so. And then she shed like 15 pounds. And that was on like more of a, she was at 1,500, maybe 1,400 at her lowest. And then now she's eating an average of 2,500, and she's maintaining at 116 pounds.
That's incredible.
Exactly. And might I add that she is now in her early 50s. Like she's 50. I'm sorry. She's in her mid 50s. She's like 55. She started already in her early 50s. So
good for her.
And this was like the first time that she had always had trainers, but like it wasn't ever a process or system. And so now it was like, it was the numbers. It was the data. It was like, I'm building muscle. I'm not just working out. Like
it was intentional.
It was intentional because, and that's another thing too, is like, we said this earlier, but just because you've had trainers or strength trained doesn't mean you've been training to build muscle. Doesn't mean you've been eating to build muscle. And we'll talk about that in a moment, but this is exactly why we want to highlight, like the whole purpose of this more food is to build more muscle.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I want to shout out a client too. So this client, it was interesting because I think we hear this a lot. The clients that come and say like, I've been doing all the things. I've been eating clean. I've been working out 7 days a week, 7 days a week. My body just does not look like I work out, that I'm putting in all the effort that I am. So of course we started with our foundations phase and probably around 1,600 calories. But you know, when we talked last episode about the foundations phase, what was really cool about this client was she locked in and really understood that like, okay, what I was doing was not working. And she put the reps in both in the gym and also in life to really build that foundation. So when we moved her into the empowerment phase, she's now eating well over 2,000 calories. And I remember the call exactly, because when I said it in her check-in that we were going to start moving into this phase, immediately she was terrified. Okay. And I said, let's get on a call because I think it's important to chat this through. And it was so funny because after the conversation, she looked at me, she goes, I trust you, coach. Let's do it. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. Right. Like, she's like, I trust you. I've trusted this process and it's gotten me here. I know. Plus we have our community. So these women are seeing what's possible from the journey of other women. Anyway. So we're in the empowerment phase, we increase, and now she's lifting heavier than ever. She is blown away, and I am like so excited about the visible muscle, like so much muscle. And she's also reduced her training. So now because it's so strategic and intentional, it's 4 days a week instead of 7. She's eating well over 2,000 calories. And she's like, I look amazing. I feel amazing. And she's like, I love this. This is incredible.
She's living the dream.
But one thing I will add though, is that there are people in her life though, who still question, like, how is that possible? But I kept telling her, proof's in the pudding. Like, show them what you're doing because your results speak for themselves. Exactly. So anyway, I love these stories. I'm sure we have lots and lots, but it's just exciting to highlight clients who are actually living this lifestyle. So, you know, if you're sitting here thinking that you've never made it to this phase and, oh my God, it's so exciting, but you keep gaining the weight back after you get here, this is why we have our strength sculpting system, because most women have never been taught how to actually maintain the results. They diet, they lose weight, but then they're like, what comes next? Or maybe it's not even on their radar of what comes next, and they end up right back where they started. So if you're tired of that cycle and you want someone to show you what this next phase could look like and teach you about reversing, testing your metabolic capacity and building that exciting food freedom we're talking about, our applications are open right now. You can fill it out at getsculpted.ca/contact, and we will happily show you what it will look like to finally break that pattern.
Love it.
All right. T, will you take us through how building new beliefs and expanding capacity is done in this phase?
Yeah, I want to offer you some reframes here because, like, if you haven't heard everything we said today, it's that you can't be afraid of eating more food, and this is what's going to lead you to the change that you want to be seeing, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just about eating more food without any structure. Like, we really want to highlight what you used to think versus what is the new belief and the new practices you're adopting.
Right.
So in the past, perhaps when you've dieted, it was so restrictive, and then you go back on that and just kind of eat how you used to, and that's not going to work because you're just going to, at the actual physiological level, you're just rapidly increasing your calories, and that's going to lead to fat gain. And if you haven't been giving the right training stimulus, it's not going to be good news. And keep in mind that your hunger signals are going to be sky high following a fat loss phase, especially when you've slashed your calories so low and lost weight so quickly.
Right.
So this is why you've been regaining the weight. So I share this with you because the belief you might be hanging on to is, when I eat more, I gain weight. Yeah, but that's when you have no structure. That's when you don't have the right training stimulus. That's when you have out of whack hunger signals. That's when you don't have a system and support. And when you have all of these things, you're doing that in a different way.
Right.
And so this is why we want to start by being emotionally bought into the fact that you're not going to get that booty and capped shoulders and defined muscles and healthy metabolism from lifting light weights and eating 1,500 calories. You're just not. You're not going to lift the weights by eating 1,500 calories that you need to see that kind of change. You can't build something from nothing. So this is why we have that happening. So a lot of this journey, I always tell my clients, is there's different struggles for each phase, and going out of your comfort zone looks different. Like in the fat loss phase, your comfort is going to be like, I'm a little bit hungry. I'm going to have to say no to these foods. I'm going to have to be more diligent with my tracking. I am going to have to make sacrifices. Absolutely.
Right.
Like, we never said this whole journey is like sunshine, rainbows, and easy. Like, you have to commit to making those changes. And then there's a different struggle when it's the empowerment, because it's like, now I have to trust the process. I have to trust my coach. I have to eat more food. I have to lift heavier. I have to go out of my comfort zone. I have to really push myself beyond what I'm just mentally holding myself back from. I have to really test my limits here. And that is also an area of discomfort. So this is where you're pushing your edges. Like, you really are stretching yourself. You need to be stretched to grow. And that's going to look different. If every phase were just what you're comfortable with, you never get anywhere. And guess what? That's probably what you were doing before. Like, you're doing the limiting the foods and sticking to what you know and what works, and then working out in your living room with no real training stimulus. That's exactly why you're stuck. So this really, you want to ask yourself, how much can you continue to push yourself to see the change that you need to? How can you do that in a way that's going to stretch you at the right pace? Right. So, okay, here's what this looks like tactically, if we look at the breakdown. So number one, we want to track the right data, because data is king. So this is where we track, are you lifting heavy enough to see change? Are you feeling more energized for that training? Is energy going up? Is strength going up? What type of improvements are we seeing? Because you're going to see a lot of positive biofeedback from these extra calories.
Right.
Totally.
Your energy, strength, libido, digestion, all of these things are going to be improving. That's some of the things that we monitor. Your recovery, your sleep. And this is why, again, we're not increasing this blindly. And then it's also letting go of that control. You know, how many of, I don't know about you, but I'm a control freak. I have been, for sure, right? We need that. Yes, we can all attest to that. We're all putting our hands up. So if you can relate to that, this is actually where you find that healthy balance of you don't lose all control. That's not what we want, but we want to relinquish a healthy level of that, where you're able to navigate things like your travel, stressful life situations. Yeah. Social events, all these things, without everything falling apart. Because this is what I said earlier, is you really want to test all the skills that you built and learn how to fish.
That's
hey,
right.
let me have my go at this. You gave me the fish coach. You told me exactly what to eat, gave me the meal plan. Now I want to apply those principles without the parameters of that meal plan. And this is where there is a little bit of I fall down and get back up, right, baby? Oh, I overate and that didn't feel good. Okay, let me assess that. Oh, I chose this food, but I kind of turned it into a cheat meal, been a more mindful meal. That's okay. We're learning some of those skills. It's data. Exactly. So this phase is all about learning that.
That's the messy middle of maintenance, right? Is learning those skills and trusting yourself that you can course correct with the right guidance and support, being in a coaching environment.
That's right.
Exactly. Is there anything else that you guys would add? Mayor, Jord?
No.
Awesome. The one quote I really like here that I want to take away from all this is that empowerment isn't about the result that you get at the end. It's actually the practice of proving to yourself that you've got this.
Yes.
It's what lies beyond fat loss. And this is really just the beginning of this beautiful journey. So take us home, Jord.
I love that. I love that so much. And so just so that you know, the empowerment phase is where you're going to be learning to maintain your results without restriction, rebuild your metabolism by eating more, not less, and reinforcing confidence with new beliefs while you lift heavier and enjoy the life that you're building along that way. This is where women finally stop fearing food and start living in their new bodies and living that fit life that we love to help them build.
I love it.
So I would love to just do a quick reflection before we wrap up here. If you want to share one sentence of what empowerment means to you.
Yeah, I'll go first. Well, I think the big one here is, again, we've talked a lot about nutrition, that, you don't have to earn your food. Your food serves a purpose, and it's a very important purpose. It's to fuel you, to help you lift more, lift heavier, which in turn shapes your body and does a whole bunch of other amazing things. So you don't have to earn food. Your food serves a purpose.
Love that. T.
That I'm able to trust myself, trust my body, and trust my hunger signals.
Yes.
And trust my choices without feeling guilty.
Love that.
Beautiful. Love that. And I think for me, it's realizing that your body is an ally and not an obstacle. It's not something you have to overcome and fight all the time, but it's something that you can work with and support together. And it's really, the more you tune in and listen, the better the results will become. So
definitely
that's mine. And if you're in phase 2 right now, celebrate that. This is a moment you get to become unstoppable. You have finished with the dieting phase and you are building that fit life that you've been dreaming about for so long. And if this episode resonated with you and you're thinking, I want to experience this. I want to know what empowerment's all about. I want to know what it feels like to not fear food and to trust my body. We would love to help you get there. We have a few spots opening up in our Super Sculpted Lifestyle System where we take you through all 3 of these phases: foundation, empowerment, and elevation. So if you're ready to stop living in that diet regain cycle and build something that lasts, fill out an application at getsculpted.ca/contact. We read every single one and we'll help you figure out exactly where you are and where we can take you on your health and fitness journey. And speaking of elevation, next week, we'll actually dive into phase 3, which is the elevation phase. So what happens when maintenance, you know how to maintain, and you want to learn how to thrive beyond the physical and truly embody that fit life that you've been dreaming about? We can't wait to talk to you about that next week. And thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Get Sculpted podcast. See you next week.
See you next
week.
Then.